We are expecting more decisions from the Supreme Court this morning. Now, last week, the justices passed down rulings in two pretty big cases, one reversing a ban on bump stocks and another preserving access to the abortion pill mifepristone. Several cases are left on the docket, though, and they're biggies. There are four that we are really watching that could have a major impact on some hot-button issues. So CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford is following today's potential decisions, joining us now to give us sort of some guidelines, what to look out for. There are two biggies having to do with former President Donald Trump. Outline those cases for us.
Well, the big one of them all, I think everyone is kind of even starting to camp in line at like midnight to see if they can get a seat inside the courtroom to hear when this case is announced, involves former President Trump and whether or not he can be prosecuted for his efforts to allegedly overturn the 2020 presidential election. As you know, he is arguing that he is absolutely immune from prosecution. Lower courts flatly rejected that. And now the Supreme Court is looking at whether or not he does have at least some immunity. There's an argument that presidents do have some immunity. And so if so, what is it? That is the big case, though, because that will determine how special counsel Jack Smith will proceed with his efforts to prosecute Trump for all that happened around January 6th. Now, the other one is if he has, not the kind of immunity that he says he has, Donald Trump, then what can he be charged with? And this is a case about obstruction and whether or not he can be facing charges for obstruction of justice around the 2020 election. He and several hundred other January 6 defendants were facing that charge, and it's a big one because it carries a 20-year prison sentence. So huge cases, not only for presidential power, but for one former president for sure, Donald Trump.
Right. Okay. So there are still several decisions on the docket, other than those two that we mentioned. How long do the justices have to issue their decisions on these other cases? And why is this happening so late in the term? We talked about this.
Yeah, I mean, these are sometimes the hardest cases, so there's not always unanimity, right? And so a justice will write a dissent, and then that has to get circulated, and other justices may want to respond to it. So it just takes longer. The big cases, just coincidentally, came at the very end of the term for arguments. They weren't argued until April. So, it would be fast even now for those cases to come out. We're still waiting on a big gun case from November. It was argued in November. So it takes longer. It's always controversial in June. Those cases are the hardest. I think they'll try to wrap up, though, before the 4th of July holiday. So I think we'll have all of these cases by the end of next week, or certainly by the middle of the week after that.
And so we do have another abortion-related case. Last week we heard about the abortion pill, and the conclusion was that it is still available. But there's a case coming out of Idaho, and it has to do with whether or not medical personnel should be compelled to perform an abortion if a woman shows up and she's in medical need. Can you give us the details on that?
Sure. I mean, this involves a law in Idaho, and they have after the court overturned Roe versus Wade 2 years ago, Idaho had a law that went into effect that banned all abortion except to save a woman's, life when her life was in danger. The Biden administration is arguing that conflicts with a federal law that requires hospitals that get Medicare funding to provide stabilizing care in emergencies, which could potentially include, for some women, unfortunately, an abortion. So they're saying that, Idaho says you can only perform abortions when a mother's life is at stake, but this federal law means that there are some situations where emergency room doctors may need to do it when her health is at stake. And so they're saying those laws are in conflict. That's a big case, obviously, particularly for women. And it's rare, fortunately, but it does happen where for some women, an abortion may be the necessary method of treatment when they're in crisis.
And then any other cases you're interested in? You mentioned one that has to do with guns, but what are you watching?
Well, I mean, there's 21 left, right? And so I think even aside from these ones we're just talking about, there's another 6 or 7 that are really interesting and potentially significant. One is another gun case. Yes, you said last week that they said that Congress was the one that needed to ban bump stocks. If anybody's going to ban that, accessory that goes on a semi-automatic weapon and can make it act like a machine gun, we're waiting a decision on a case that kind of looks at the kind of people who can be banned from having having guns. And this one involves a man who is banned from having a gun under a federal law that prohibits people who are under domestic violence restraining orders from having guns. So this is a really important case because there are a lot of other laws that ban, for example, felons from having guns, that ban drug addicts from having guns, like, for example, Hunter Biden. So this case is about domestic violence offenders, but how the court writes the case could have an impact much beyond that. And that's true for all the cases. Whatever the ruling is, you also have to look at how the lower courts will apply it in different situations. And that's why I think some of these cases, it takes them a little longer to write. They're aware that it's going to be applied in ways that aren't just about the specific case that's in front of them, Anne Marie.
Yeah, it's the real world implications you have to think about. Jan, thank you so much.
Sure, thanks.